From the 1011 Now streaming studio in Lincoln, Nebraska, this is the REPORT Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store.
Hi, everyone. Bill Rentschler alongside not sports director Kevin Suits, not sports reporter Chase Madison, but meteorologist Carmelo Lattuca in the 1011 Now streaming studio for another edition of the REPORT Husker Show. We're sponsored and brought to you by Fat Dog's Convenience Store. Carmelo, again, that was stressful.
It was stressful.
But in a good way this time.
It was.
Nebraska wins 34-31, a game of incredible back and forths. You had Nebraska scoring the first 10 points, Maryland then scoring the next 14 points, then Nebraska scoring the next 10 points, then Maryland scoring the next 17 points, and then Nebraska scoring the final 10 points of the game in the fourth quarter. Dylan Raiola orchestrating a comeback in the fourth quarter. They score that touchdown with about a minute and change left in the game to take that lead.
And they started from what, the 8-yard line? That last drive?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty far back there. At least that was the one they kicked the field goal on. I'm not sure.
Oh, possibly, yes.
But
just an impressive win. You know, the first thing I thought was statement win. You know, changing the narrative, close games. You know, one-score games for sure. I mean, you know, so far this season, I think you told me earlier we're 2-1 in one-score games.
One-score games.
I mean, that's, you know, we love hearing that stat. We don't want to have a losing record, one-score games. You know, when we keep it close, we want to end up, you know, pulling it off, but. Really impressive. You know, it's were there some mistakes made? Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, when you turn over the ball 3 times, I was getting worried.
On the road.
On the road. You know, first true road game too. I mean, let's not undersell that by any means, but we really found a way to just come through in the end. Really good drive at the end, and I think we were all screaming for Emmett Johnson to be given the ball right at the end. And that one-handed grab by Dane Key, just so impressive. It was awesome.
You bring up Emmett Johnson again. Matt Rule in his post-game press conference, he talked about Maryland has those 2 edge rushers, freshman edge rushers that are extremely disruptive. So they kind of went in being like, hey, let's kind of run the ball and try and neutralize that. Emmett Johnson, by far and away, I think has his best game of the season. You could argue maybe the best game of his career.
Absolutely.
21 carries for 176 yards. That's an 8.4 yard average per carry. Obviously kind of busted open that big long one.
Yes.
50 yards there in the fourth quarter. Then he chipped in a pair of catches, 2 catches for 20 yards. So almost 200 yards of total offense just for Emmett Johnson.
You know, you try and take that longest run away, and then you subtract it and you do a true average. And even if you do that, it was just impressive. He was breaking tackles. He was juking defenders out. I mean, there were some plays where I'm like, this is going to be a tackle for a loss.
It looked like they slathered him in grease.
Oh, my God. You just couldn't stop him.
No.
He was a true difference maker. Him and Isaiah Hunter today. Yes, Dane Key had that big catch at the end, but Isaiah Hunter really showed out. You know, didn't lose his shoe on one of those big catch and runs today.
He did not lose his shoe this time.
But really good play all around from our receivers and running backs.
5 catches for 125 yards for an Isaiah Hunter, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the long 64 yards there in the first half for that touchdown. Dane Key kind of had wondered, where did he go? He kind of disappeared a little bit the last game or two. He was targeted multiple times. He had 7 targets, had 4 catches, 43 yards. Obviously, the biggest one there at the very end of the game with that 2-yard touchdown grab, one-handed grab. That was an impressive throw and an impressive catch.
It's just nice that we have, multifaceted receivers. You can count on different people in different weeks. Last week, I thought, you counted on Hunter. He had a really big catch and run, and Ja'Cory Barney.
Mm-hmm.
But this week,
Ja'Cory Barney was pretty quiet.
That's what I was just about to say. Barney was quiet.
3 catches for 16 yards. Kind of was held in check in the return game, too.
Absolutely. And Dane Key, though, I'd wondered the same thing at the beginning of the game. I'm like, this was one of those guys that came in. I'm like, he's going to be a real difference maker. And he was kind of quiet. He started off a little hot, I thought. A little quiet in the last few weeks, but today, nothing more to say than that last catch.
Yeah, and then you got to mention, as a big story in this game, Kenneth Williams, by way of Michigan to Lincoln High. Matt Rule reads about his track times in the newspaper, gets a walk-on, is now returning kicks. When they
return today.
When they got socked in the face and they, Maryland scored 14 straight, and then all of a sudden he busts off so close to finishing off that kickoff for a touchdown. I think it was 10 yards shy there.
There were just a lot of changes in momentum. You were just talking about at the beginning, all the lead changes, but it really was like, who is going to whoever has the ball last, it almost felt like
was going to win,
or whoever scores last was going to win. And you know what? We ended up scoring last, and we ended up pulling it out. So it was really great.
Yeah, it was. And again, defensively, Malik Washington for Maryland. Again, their freshman quarterback, big dude. I'm not excited that he's a freshman because that means he's going to be in the league for another couple years.
Oh, he looked impressive today.
He was pretty impressive. 27 for 37 was his final line, 249 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So he looked pretty impressive, but I would argue Dylan Raiola looked pretty equally impressive. We've kind of danced around the characters here, but we haven't talked about Raiola yet.
Yes.
20 for 29, 260 total yards, 4 touchdowns. There were 3 interceptions, though. So of the 9 incompletions, 33% of them were interceptions. One of them, it kind of sounded like in his post-game press conference, said he was trying to throw the ball away.
Yes, and it looked like that.
Didn't get enough air under it.
I mean, that happens. But I think more notably, defensively, this was the first time we'd given up 200 passing yards all season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we held their top running back in check today a little bit, right? I mean, was he under 100 yards?
So they finished with 31 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns
but collectively.
on the ground. Collectively.
Okay.
Their top guy was last name of Ray.
Yes.
He had
Ray,
11 carries for 62 yards, and he's the one that had that, I think, 28-yard touchdown run in the first half.
So, giving up 200 yards or more hadn't been something we'd seen all year. A little bit concerning, I guess. It was going to happen at some point. We had been playing so well. Right. We've been playing so well defensively. It was really nice to see. They made some key stops, though. Especially that last drive, I was getting just maybe a little bit concerned. Are they going to get into field goal range? They got very close. They were at the 50, I think 4th and 4. One-handed, could have been a catch right at the end, but we made some key plays.
And I would argue coming out of the third quarter is I feel like when you kind of saw the defense kind of flip a little bit, turn it up a notch, and that was when Dasan McCullough just came screaming off the edge. I believe it was 3rd and 4.
3rd and 2, and ended up being 4th and 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
And made
untouched.
That play. And then obviously again we held them scoreless in the fourth quarter and had some big 3rd down stops for that defense. So again, like you said, they were never going to go the whole entire year with
it was a very impressive
200
start.
Passing yards, but the defense again, it's nice to see all phases of the game complementing each other or picking each other up.
Absolutely.
And that is just not what you've seen by Nebraska football over the last several years. Whether it was the offense struggling, whether it was the defense just kind of being a garbage, fire.
We had seen this script before. If this was 2 or 3 years ago, the way this game was played, I think there would have been so much more concern. But the way we've been able to win some of the games this year, this was just such a difference from last week with Michigan State. I know the wind had a lot to do with that, not to relate it back to the weather, but had so much to do with that game. And it was just like, oh my gosh, who is going to score? It was just going back and forth. But this was a true back and forth game. A lot of scoring, a lot of momentum changes, a lot of lead changes. It just feels really good. Even though we made some mistakes, we were able to close it out. Our first road win. I feel so much better about going into Minnesota now with this game. Not to say that won't be a tough game. Minnesota's kind of had our number recently, but I'm very excited for that one.
So you bring it up. Again, this is the 3rd M team that we've faced in a row.
Yes.
Obviously, losing the close game to Michigan, topping Michigan State, now topping Maryland, and now at Minnesota. And it's going to be a short week.
It is a short week.
The game's Friday.
Right.
In Minneapolis, 7 p.m. kick. It's going to be on Fox. And you would probably expect Nebraska to be a top 25 team when the rankings come out on Monday and for that matchup next week.
I think they said the same thing during the game. Whoever wins this game had a really good chance. So it could have been either or who would have been ranked after it. Either team would have been 5-1, but I think we have a very strong chance of being ranked. It's interesting what our schedule has now. I was just saying this to you right before we went on. The juggernaut, the gauntlet was Penn State. And what they have done recently, drop 3 straight, and the way they've dropped them, and now I believe Drew Aller is out for the year. We have some very winnable games coming up. I think Minnesota is a tough opponent, and then I believe we have Northwestern, who did just beat Penn State today. I don't want to take anybody lightly, but we have some very winnable games coming up.
When I talk with again sports director Kevin Suits, who's been covering the team for 20 years and has just a wealth of knowledge, and he always comes at things from a very sort of calm, not trying to get too hyped up either way sort of perspective.
Absolutely.
Trying to break the season down into thirds. First 4 games, a lot of us at the beginning of the year probably would have been said, 3-1 with a loss to Michigan. That's
Absolutely.
probably the most realistic thing. And now this next 4 games, this October stretch, Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern. Again, you have to think Nebraska's likely going to be favored going into Minnesota.
I believe so.
They were favored by about, I think, 7.5 was where the line finished today. But you'd have to think they're favored at Minnesota. Then you get Northwestern at home. Again, they did just beat Penn State. But
is that Penn State falling down the hill? Or is that,
I mean, at this point now, I would say your most difficult games remaining on the schedule are probably USC. And then, that trip out to UCLA looks a lot more difficult now after the last
I thought
weeks.
that was a layup going into the season. That's a game. I know we lost them last year, and I never want to take anybody lightly, but I thought just the way this season started for them. But then, you get a new coach. That is just a spark, momentum. They have won convincingly. They won convincingly today, and then they were able to beat Penn State. He was either last week or a couple weeks ago.
I think it was last week.
Yeah.
So Matt Rule did say, though, last year they started the season 5-1. So this is the second year in a row that the team has started 5-1. Again, last year, then they proceeded to go to Indiana, to Ohio State, lost both of those, lost to UCLA at home, lost to USC on the road. It wasn't finally until they beat Wisconsin at home that they got that 6th win to get bowl eligibility, then obviously dropping the last game against Iowa before winning the bowl game. You would have to imagine, again, you go back to the beginning of the season, the prognostications of probably 8-9 wins for this team. So I would imagine those are very within reach.
Absolutely. You bring up last year. Those were a lot of close games. We led, I believe, in the 4th quarter against Ohio State. And I felt like, man, this could be just a changing win, one of those statement kind of games. But there were a lot of close ones, I mean, losing UCLA at home, that was close at one point in the game. USC, Sierra Wright, great game in that game. That was a close one at points too.
Even the Indiana game.
Yes.
I mean, it was only 28-7 at half, and then they just boat raced us out of the building.
Indiana looks very strong,
Indiana
both last year and this year.
Goes to Oregon today.
Upset alert. I mean, oh my God.
I mean, I don't know if that's an upset alert, but I mean, it's.
I mean, in terms of the rankings,
in terms of just hearing, Indiana goes to Oregon and knocks off a top 5 Oregon team. It sounds odd.
It was their first. I believe I saw this. It was their first
top 5 road game win.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So
incredible.
Yeah, pretty incredible. One thing I want to mention, I think Matt Rule said, going back to Kenneth Williams and his big return,
yes.
I think he said he put him on scholarship after the game. Is what he said in the post game.
Well deserved.
Cool story there.
Yes.
For him. So yeah, obviously, always better to win, or always better to sort of learn, after a win rather than a loss, which Nebraska's been able to do a couple times this year between Cincinnati in week 1 and Michigan State now Maryland. So again, 5-1 for the second year in a row. Minnesota up next Friday, 7:00 night game. Matt Rule also said it sounds like they're partnering with Minnesota. That's going to be sort of a breast cancer game. So I imagine maybe do the Huskers have like a pink, maybe something added
pink
to their uniform?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool too. So again, obviously, Carmelo, myself, more weather themed here, but chatting sports as Nebraska wins 34.
This is a bucket list thing for me.
I know. I asked him if he wanted to do
awesome.
it, and he was like, yeah, I want to do it. So we appreciate Fat Dogs for letting 2 meteorologists get on here and kind of talk about sports for a few minutes. Anything else, Carmelo, that kind of you want to make sure you talk about, looking at either the game tonight or just the season as a whole so far?
I think that the one word you take away from this game is resiliency. Resilient win. 2 words right there, but very resilient. Again, 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That is not a game where you're like, that's an automatic win. You turn over the ball 3 times. Again, one of them, as Raiola said, try to get it out of bounds. Just the air got underneath it or something like that.
I think that's what he said. Yeah.
But just if you can come back from those kinds of things and you move forward from there, I think that's a lot better than if we had just gone into this today and, it was just a clean game, clean win. Of course, everybody wants a clean win, but these are the games that really change. how the team performs going forward. So I'm very excited going forward. 5-1. I don't want the bowl eligible game hanging over our heads. I would love to just get to that 6th win and you go from there. Very well could be Minnesota, could be a little bit later than that. I hope it's Minnesota, but very excited going forward.
But just definitively, I think anyone who pays attention to the team could say, last year you probably dropped today's game and last.
Oh, absolutely,
year, and even the year before that. And so everyone talks about wanting to see progress.
I felt like I saw progress today.
Matt Rule, and it's like definitively the last 2 weeks show progress. And again, Matt Rule brought that up again in his post-game press conference tonight, where it's like, hey, we've talked about bowl droughts, we've talked about not winning close games, and like, guess what? We're doing it now. Like, just the next game, it's the next play, or whatever it might be. So, super exciting, Carmelo. Again, Huskers win 34-31. Come back in the fourth quarter. They pitch a shutout in the fourth quarter, outscoring Maryland 10-0 to win the game. Dylan Raiola throws 4 touchdowns along with 3 interceptions. Emmett Johnson about 200 total yards of offense. Isaiah Hunter 125 yards receiving. 2 touchdowns. Luke Lindenmeyer, great catch in the end zone.
Oh my God!
Hunter Harburg made that great catch.
Catch would have been good on a Sunday.
It would have been
2 feet
good on a
inbounds.
Sunday.
Great catches.
And Dane Key making the game-winning reception at the end of the game there, one-handed. So again, Huskers will, I think, they're getting back on the bus and they're heading back right now. And Matt Rule said they're going to practice tomorrow. So
okay.
Practice tomorrow, Monday off, and then kind of go through their regular game week. They'll head up to Minneapolis Thursday evening.
Okay.
Next week. So more coverage obviously to come, not only from sports director Kevin Suits and sports reporter Chase Madison, but the rest of the 10-11 team coming up tonight in the 10 o'clock newscast. So make sure you tune in for that. And then as always, make sure you stay tuned to the End Report throughout the week as we get you ready for those upcoming games. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching again and listening along to two meteorologists kind of again talk about football. We very much appreciate it. So hope everyone has a nice Saturday night, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the REPORT Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more Husker coverage throughout the week, watch the Report on 1011 Sports at 6 and 10 p.m. and download the 1011 Now app.